Andor episodes 4 and 5 reaction talks. What were your first impressions of Andor episodes 4 and 5, Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, I think the show is getting better. It was the same I think that happened with Andor in the first season, which was maybe it's Gilroy's methodology, but it starts off slow, unnecessarily slow in my opinion. I think the same was true for season one, and then
Mm-hmm.
now it's getting better. Now you're getting deeper into the characters, deeper into the danger, into stuff, and look, these are really good actors. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
can watch these actors all the time across the board. I mean, Adrian Arjun, these are incredible actors. You just want to keep your eyes on them, and they're rising. The material, is I think pretty good. Not everyone is happy with it, but I think the actors definitely elevate it. And so it's getting better, and I haven't seen six yet. A lot of people seem to feel six is the strongest of the season so far.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell they're building up to some major action stuff. That's pretty clear in the previous two episodes that they're building up to some kind of big action thing. We kind of get the context of what that's going to be, and I'm excited to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm what I like about the show. Let me preface it always for those who are like, I hate Andor. This isn't Star Wars. I don't think anything is Star Wars, and I've said this. I don't think anything is Star Wars except what George Lucas did. I think everything after George Lucas is fan fiction. Some of it is very, very good fan fiction. Like I think Rogue One is incredible fan fiction. I think a lot of what John Favreau was able to pull off on television was good fan fiction. And this is for me a fan fiction exploration of the politics and the guerrilla aspects of the rebellion that you never see, that are only hinted at. I mean, Mon Mothma appeared in Return of the Jedi briefly, and she was so compelling a character that you just wanted to find out more about her. And I think this actress who plays her is just wonderful. And so I'm enjoying it. For me, this is just well done fan fiction that explores stuff that I'm curious about. What could have been the politics of the empire leading up to the rebellion.
So in episodes 4 and 5, we're
Yeah.
seeing more of finally of Cassian taking more of like he kind of like a little James Bond espionage. Like he has an assignment and he's gonna go and see if these potential rebels or these people are the real deal as far as being that could they be part of the rebellion, like what's going on. And so he had to take on a whole persona
Mhm.
and do some reconnaissance for Skarsgård's character. Great stuff, man.
But they should have started the show here. I mean, those first three episodes aren't the Andor that's interesting in Rogue One. This is the Andor that's interesting in Rogue One.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as I was watching, I did see episode 6, but I won't talk about that one as much. But as I was watching the four through six, I was just like, this all can be just told as a feature film. You just condense everyone's moments, and there's a lot, because everyone's characters and what they got to do is so clear, it's so good. It's just it's like, man, this would have made a great film. But we're getting these little mini films, and everyone's the tension's building up. The the sides are being played, and what I'm happy about is that Bix's character, she goes through a roller coaster, man, and it looks like the towards the end of episode 6, you see her turn the corner. But what you see in 4 and 5 is her working through her the trauma of what she's been through the last couple of years, Cameron.
Yeah, I mean it's a PTSD character, and look, I think the actress is wonderful. I liked her season one. I like her now, and they're exploring her range here. I mean, this is the result not just of the events that go happen to her in this season, but as they remind you in sort of the previously on last season. I mean, she was tortured. She was psychologically, mentally tortured by the Empire, right? And for
Yeah.
anyone who gets on their hullabaloo, well, it's torture. That's not part of Star Wars. Well, Han Solo would beg to differ on that. Han Solo, we watched him like being burned by Vader, in Empire Strikes Back, and he was tortured not for any information. He was just tortured to get pain out there that Luke could sense and calm, right? So we've seen some pretty horrific stuff, right? I mean, hell, in A New Hope, we see Vader, coming in to torture Leia, who he doesn't know is his daughter, with the mind probe, right? And so that's been part of the Imperial strategy on its prisoners since Lucas envisioned it. And this is the one thing that actually explores the PTSD of something that happens to you when something like that happens.
And they absolutely do at the very end of episode 6, a kind of walk away explosion desperado over the back moment. I was so impressed with Adria and Diego's chemistry, and it really is gelling because here's also the thing with Andor as a whole. We know the ending. We know the ending. The ending is Rogue One, and then goes into A New Hope. I'm actually very impressed that Gilroy is telling the story that we all know the ending, Cameron. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's the point of it, is that this is the unexplored part of the rebellion. These are all the unsung heroes. Rogue One was showing us that there are these unsung heroes. And again, that goes back to Lucas's world, where Mon
Mhm.
Mothma, how is everyone remembers Mon Mothma? They even made it a meme and a joke. Many Bothans died to get us this information on the second Death Star, right? And so you're just
Mhm.
told there's a whole other storyline that so far we've never seen of the Bothans in the second Death Star, right? We may never see that storyline. But there's all these unsung heroes. It's not just our main guys, Luke, Leia, and Han, right? They are standing on the shoulders of others to get it all the way over the edge, and that's what any rebellion is. That's what any military effort is. It's not one man, even if people like to think of it. Alexander the Great doesn't conquer. His army conquers, right? He may inspire them and give them direction, but he doesn't do it, right? And that's why it's so important. I think it's very humanizing of these things. And the interesting thing, showing that there's a culture here, that these are planets. There's they have song and music and fashion. And I actually kind of really like the wedding song that Mon Mothma was getting down to. I was like, hey, that's a good song, man. I want to dance to that, right? And so they're having fun with exploring more than just pew pew and blasters, right? There's a world here. There's a universe that might be worth saving because it's compelling.
And what are your thoughts on Forrest Whitaker's return as Saul Guerra?
I mean, he's playing that character pretty well. I don't remember. I worked with Whitaker. It was my first job. Forrest
Mm.
Whitaker was the host for Twilight Zone, which I was the staff writer on. It was my very first professional job in Hollywood, and he was the host of that UPN version of Twilight Zone. I met him once. I was on set once for that when he was there, and very nice gentleman, very intellectual guy. And he brings the sort of crazy thing, but this character has been around for a long time, and this character is basically the dark side of that culture that we're talking about. This is somebody who is a very damaged, you know, psychopath, really. I mean, he's they even sort of, it's like they rhyme it with Che Guevara, right? That's what they
Hmm.
rhyme it with the name. But he's one step away from being a terrorist. This guy's a little crazy, right? And I like that he brings that there, that not everybody on the side of the rebellion are necessarily good or even stable people.
Yeah, and he only flexes that insanity in episode 6 with the young man who the boy
Yeah,
that
Wilmon, which is weird because by the name, the other writer of the show beside Gilroy is this guy named Bo Wilmon. So like, did they name him after the writer?
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. Yeah, that he's got an interesting arc in this what's happening with him. And but yeah, it, and he's a straight up Forrest Whitaker Saul. He's a straight up wacko assassin that you kind of need in the rebellion. It's like this guy's a traitor. Take him out. Like I was just like, whoa, not
No, but
Wilmon,
I
but
mean
another
that's the ugly
character.
side of it because again,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with that. Some people are like, well, the rebellion is good. Any rebellion by nature is a rebellion against ordered society, right? It is a criminal act, and you're gonna attract criminals to it, as well as heroic people like Mon Mothma and Skywalker or whatever. You're gonna attract the dregs of society who've got their own problems with the current order of things, right? And that's truthful. And I think it's within the truthfulness of George Lucas's vision, that there can be these kinds of unstable actors even on the side of good.
So I am I'm I really enjoyed this second mini movie, and I actually was with Chris Gore the other night, and we talked about the entire season. He's like, "Look, man, you ain't seen nothing, and it's only gonna get better." I'm like, you know what? As it should, because it's gonna roll right into Rogue One. So you're seeing Andor becoming Cassian Andor, if that makes sense. And I know we're gonna be set up for some major tragedy because some of these characters don't make it to Rogue One, Cameron.
Yeah, we don't see them, so we have to assume they ain't around. And there's that wonderful moment that I think the entire show is built on. If I remember the movie, where Andor says, he's like kind of breaking down, where he's like, "You don't know what I've given up or what I've lost
Yes.
for this
Yes.
rebellion," right? So we're seeing that, right? And if it turns out to be Bix, which I'm assuming because I didn't see her in Rogue One, I'm assuming she ain't around. However that happens, and I've come to really like her character and their relationship. So I can imagine if indeed she is not alive at the end of the season, or then I can imagine how deeply that pushes him into a death wish, which is essentially where that character is in Rogue One.
Um, and then you have Cyril and Luthien. I mean, these are great characters.
I love
Uh
Cyril, man. I gotta say, I love Cyril and
Cyril,
Deidre.
yeah, Cyril and
I love
Deidre,
them.
yep, yep,
I love their dynamic because look, they're also it's the part of the humanity of the empire is just a continuation of the republic. It wasn't something like fascists and Nazis took over the society. This was the republic that became the empire under Palpatine. But this is official society, and these are people that were raised in that society. And Deidre, you find out about her backstory that she's an orphan. Spoiler alert: she's an orphan, and she was raised essentially in an imperial facility. So you can see where her loyalties come from, and the fact she never had a loving home. So you can see why she's where she is. And Cyril, you can see the damage that his overbearing mother has done to him. Uh, You know, I care about these people. Like, yeah, they're on the
Bro,
bad side of things, but
sh-
I care about them. If they
she is
die,
the
I'm gonna feel
emperor.
bad.
Mama is the emperor, man.
Well, but that's exactly it. I mean, this
Yeah,
is a guy that is broken by but they're both broken by family circumstances, and the Empire is the only family that they got, right? And that explains why there was stuff that we saw in the in the hobbled season 3 of what you call of Mandalorian, right? Which was kind
yeah,
of hobbled by all the drama around Gina, but there was some interesting stuff about the people that had were still loyal to the empire after the republic and were spying for the imperial remnant, right?
right,
And this
right.
shows why that would be the case. These
Yes,
I mean, this is basically what if the United States was overthrown by a rebel group that believed it was on the right side of things. There's a lot of people invested in the United States of America that will fight for it, even if people think U.S. is wrong in this and that respect, right? You know, there are people that will die for this country, with all of its flaws. If someone were to overthrow it, and so I like seeing that these complicated human beings are on the side of the empire. Palpatine is actually the most simplistic villain. Maybe Tarkin, Palpatine, and Tarkin are the most simplistic villains in the story. These are people that this is their country. That's all it is.
um, I would say for me, the 5 and 6, especially 6. I haven't seen 6. With more aliens, more Coruscant, more. We're really getting that Rogue One era. The only thing that kind of bothered me was Planet France, which was Gorman,
Yeah,
and it's
I
just
got that too. I mean, I was kind of laughing that all of these, like the French Maquis and the French accents, it was like,
yeah,
you didn't have to be so on the nose on that, buddy. We got it. You're trying to make this 1940s French resistance. We get it.
we get it, and you know what? It's like it's Planet France with the berets. And it was a little
And
too
it's all
much on the
fashion and
nose.
art. I mean, it's Paris, right? Gorman is Paris.
Yeah, it was a little. I mean, I like the cafe scenes. And don't get me wrong, but I thought the French resistance people. It's like, come on, couldn't we do something else? But
And you know who
But then
did
I was
that
thinking about
correctly?
accents. I was thinking about accents,
Yeah,
Cameron, in Star Wars, right? Because
yeah, mhm,
we've so been used to the American accent with Harrison Ford, Luke, Mark Hamill, or the Brits, the
right,
British.
right.
So I'm like, all right, well then I'm thinking, okay, you got Planet France, and then you have Diego's, and Mexican accent. So what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I'm waiting for the Scots and the Irish to show up, man. I'm waiting for them. I love their accents, right? So I'm waiting for them to show up. And the Australians, man, it's a sexy accent. So yeah, no, I mean, look, I think it's. I don't have a problem with accents if again if it doesn't distract from the story. Like this is this is a critique. Like I'm liking Andor more and more with each episode, right? And but a
Yeah.
critique that's fair is that this Gorman is is a bit silly what they did. It's not. You could have made it an interesting, this fashion planet. That's interesting, right? The culture. That's you didn't
Yeah.
have to make them French. You didn't have to make it. The
Yeah.
example I'll give someone that did that correctly was my old boss, Ira Stephen Bear, who created Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Ira, he Ira did, the resistance of, against the Cardassians, not the Kardashians, but the Cardassian Empire. The resistance was, it was the Maquis, which is the French word for the World War II resistance, right? And and yet it's you don't get the feeling that this is ripping off World War II. In fact, in many ways, I would suggest, I mean, I'm interested to get Ira's perspective on this. In many ways, it's really an analogy of Israel and Palestine, right? The Deep Space Nine. I would be intrigued if Ira thought it that way. He cast the first Arab actor on that show, right? Dr.
Mhm.
Bashir. So it'd be interesting. But yeah, but that's something that was well done. Here, this is Gilroy being a little lazy, in my opinion.
You know what? But I totally agree with you because you can't mess up these things in Star Wars because you got all these planets that we're so used to and these aliens. You should have just made them aliens. I don't know, maybe that cost too much,
It probably did.
but that was the only lame part. And I get we're gonna get more of it, but it, it could. And then they kind of lean on it in episode 6 because the caper goes down. It
Yeah.
happens. So it's not the worst thing. I mean, it's the reason why it doesn't fall apart for me, guys, is because there's that on that planet, but then you got what's going on with Mon Mothma, what's going on with Diego, what's going on with Saul. So in that sense, it is I do like that. Like there's all these different storylines going on, Cameron. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing is and so far Mothma hasn't intersected with Cassian, and so I'm intrigued if that happens, right? Because eventually, he's
Ah.
gonna. Yeah, I mean, you would think that. I mean, if I was writing it, they would intersect, right? Because this is our last chance to see them together before he's gonna die in Rogue One. I don't think they were together in Rogue One, but if he's gonna be this pivotal guy in the destruction of the Death Star, right? Then I would think that Mothma would at least know who this operative was that they were going to send out to try to deal
Well,
with this situation.
yeah, in Rogue One, they do know each other.
Do they? I
Uh
don't recall. Do you ever see them together?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll have to watch the
Yeah.
film again.
And what's going to happen is also too Bail Organa is going to play a big role in these next coming episodes.
Yeah.
Um, Krennic. Krennic is making his presence felt. What are your thoughts on Krennic's return?
Oh, he's such a great actor, right? It's just wonderful to see him come back here, right?
The
And
great Ben Mendelsohn. Yes.
yeah, and and again, they represent the the true believers.
Oh,
He's sort of like a rival to Tarkin. We even see that in Rogue
can you
One, right?
can you
But he's very much a true believer.
you're going in and
Can you hear
out.
me? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in Brentwood right now, near OJ's thing. I'm in Brentwood, and the reception isn't always great here. I'll do my best. But yes. So yeah, I was saying that Ben Mendelsohn's character, Krennic, he's very much a rival to Tarkin. In fact, Tarkin is mentioned in this show, right, several times. But he represents the true believer. But again, it's different. What he is about is that he sees himself as Leonardo da Vinci. He's trying to create a work
Mm,
of art in the Death Star. He sees himself as a great scientist who's going to advance science forward, right? But
mm,
there's that incredible moment in Rogue One where he blows up one of the the city, right? With one blast of the Death Star, it blows up the entire city. And you're looking at it from space, the destruction, and he goes, "It's beautiful." Right? He can't see. He's disconnected from the humanity of the situation. All he sees is a wondrous work of scientific majesty. Right? So he's an interesting character for that way because he's basically Dr. Mengele. He's so in love with science that the human cost of it doesn't matter to him.
All right. Well, cool, man. Good stuff. I think that
Well, I want to
we
say one more guy. I want to
tell
shout
me.
out one more guy. That guy who is Deidre's boss, the ISB head. I love that dude. That dude is great. Like that, you can imagine that dude was like essentially that dude basically was there. He's been there since the old Republic. He was like the head of the FBI of the old Republic, and he just transitioned into running the Imperial Security Bureau. And I don't. He doesn't even come across as evil. He's just doing his job. He's just a brilliant bureaucrat, and that's what's so interesting about him.
Well, what's great about his casting too, you could totally have seen him in the original Star Wars movies.
Oh, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
He would have been there. But again, he doesn't exude evil. Like Tarkin kind of
Right.
exuded evil. This guy doesn't exude evil. He's just a functionary of the Empire, and he's very good at his job.
So those are our takes, guys. We Cameron hasn't seen episode 6. I have, but we won't go too deep in and would in episode 6 Ben Bratt makes his appearance as Bail Organa. We'll talk about that as we see some more episodes with them, and we'll get back to you, man, with more Andor. Definitely it's picked up for me. Absolutely 100%. 100%, guys.